Wind whistled around the village. Laric moved quickly, then paused in front of one of the buildings and crouched down, using a small, blunt knife to carve into the stone, replicating the simple shape that Sashak had demonstrated in his mind. It was one he had seen in his own home, but it had been a while since he had seen it. As he carved the glyph, he began to feel a growing sense of power, recognizing the energy that poured into it. Glyphs were nothing more than a structure, as Sashak had made a point of telling him. The structure itself was the key, and the potential that was stored came from him as he fortified the glyph. "Is it right?" Laric asked, focusing on what he was able to see and on the connection he had to Sashak. It didn't take long for the dragon to connect to him, and Laric felt it as he did, the vague, uneasy connection as Sashak forged that link, allowing Laric to see what the dragon was able to see, and to feel what the dragon was able to feel.
"It is nearly right,"
Sashak said, though his voice seemed to come from a bit of distance away.
"You must form the shape more regularly."
For the most part, Sashak had been absent ever since they had saved the village from the attack, but even in the process, Laric had been uncertain about what he was doing, and uncertain about what he would need to find. He felt uncomfortable about everything that was happening, as part of him was not entirely sure if what he needed to do was something he had the skill or the patience for. Laric concentrated again, and tried to make sense of what exactly it was that he needed to do, because the more he focused on what Sashak was telling them, the harder it was for him to know if he was forming the glyphs correctly. He had grown in his ability with glyphs, but he was certainly no glyph master, not like his grandmother. At the thought of her, he sat back on his heels and looked around the village. He was tempted to use one of his detection spellcraft forms, but hesitated to do so because there was the possibility that the process would only alert her to what he was doing. Until he knew whether that was safe, and honestly until he knew whether or not this was truly his grandmother, he wasn't sure he wanted to do that. "I've been trying to form it with the same regularity," Laric said, "but I think that this one isn't holding quite the right way." Even as he carved it, he felt something coursing through him. That was hard for him to acknowledge, that he could feel the energy of the glyphs, and more than that, he could feel how that potential spilled into it.
"There,"
Sashak said. Laric hurriedly finished it, adding a little bit of his potential, and he felt Sashak linking to him and adding his own potential as well.